is Anna Patterson with the North Carolina Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning for our housing call. And without further ado, I will turn it over to our Director of Housing Policy, Stephanie Watkins-Cruz.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a great week so far. You will get this call. We're posting it on Wednesday morning, but we're actually recording it in the afternoon of May 19th because there has been a lot happening today. So the top three things we want to lift up, Governor Stein signed Executive Order 36 this morning. Both the Executive Director, Samuel Gunter, and myself were both at that event. And Executive Order 36 is titled Improving Housing Opportunities for All North Carolinians. And so we'll go into detail about that in a little bit. Second is a big property tax week at the General Assembly. Lots of property tax related or tax related bills moving through the General Assembly, through committees, and also going to the floor. And then on the federal side, the 21st Century Road to Housing Act could see a floor vote in the House this week. And so we'll go ahead and start with that for federal updates. Last week, the House released the final text for their amended version of the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. Some of the main changes in the House version, in this latest version, include pulling back some of the Senate's restrictions on investors buying up single-family homes, including the disposal requirement that would actually force investors to sell built-to-rent homes to families after 7 years. 2, it would exclude the Bipartisan Reforming Disaster Recovery Act, RDRA, which would permanently authorize HUD's Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program, and would make critical reforms that promote more efficient and equitable disaster recovery. So this is unfortunate change. And then it would also exclude provisions related to Moving to Work program and rental assistance demonstration to both of those programs. So some not so great changes being made to this version. The House is expected to review it and vote on the floor this week. And so if it passes in the House, it's really not clear if it would have a path forward in the Senate. There are already a number of both Democrat and Republican senators that have expressed disapproval with the amended bill. In other federal news, the Department of Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner testified on the Trump administration's fiscal year 27 budget request. Secretary Scott Turner testified before the House and Senate Appropriations Committees last week on the budget request, and he spoke against the evidence-based Housing First model and called for more harmful work requirements and time limits for HUD program participants. Both committees actually expressed strong bipartisan concern about the proposed discretionary cuts of at least $3.8 billion, with a B, to housing and community development programs, and noted the importance of stable housing to the economy and workforce. Even groups across the housing ecosystem, including the National Association of Realtors, have called on the Appropriations Committee to provide full funding to HUD programs, including housing counseling, community development block grant, home, housing vouchers, and fair housing. The House and Senate are expected to release their fiscal year 27 spending bills for housing and community development programs in the coming weeks, and then they'll go through the markup process. Moving right along to state updates. Again, like I mentioned, it's been a very busy day. So instead of having a live call this morning and recording it this morning, we are recording it the afternoon of May 19th. But again, it'll be posted in the morning time, probably when you're listening to it. And on the state side, it's been a really, really busy day. This morning, our executive director, Samuel Gunter, and myself attended a special event at the Executive Mansion where Governor Josh Stein announced and signed Executive Order number 36, increasing housing opportunities for all North Carolinians. This executive order in particular, just to give a high-level overview, creates a new senior advisor for housing policy. This role is in the governor's office. Direct state agencies to work with partners and leverage their data, platforms, and research to enhance support for local governments and builders, and to further integrate housing initiatives at the Department of Commerce. It was a really wonderful event, really well attended. It's a little hot outside, of course, but it was really wonderful to see folks from across the state, from multiple sectors, and of course from across the housing ecosystem there, honestly, to witness what was a really clear showing of not only support, but from the governor, but of bipartisan support for lifting up housing as a priority for our state. And so looking forward to seeing how these things, what comes from it, and what movement forward and progress we see. Last week, the Speaker, Destin Hall, and Senate President Pro Tem Berger reached a deal that brings us closer to a state budget. There are a few elements of the deal. The agreement was to bring the personal income tax rate, which will eventually be brought down to 2.49%. Commit to passing a constitutional amendment that would lock in the state income tax rate at 3.5% if approved by voters, and commit to passing a constitutional amendment, proposal HB 1089, which you've heard us already talk about quite a bit, which is pretty dangerous and proposes a constitutional amendment to require statewide levy limits on property taxes under the guise of providing relief for homeowners in North Carolina. And we want to be really clear that and emphasize that proposals like HB 1089 will not provide the relief that proponents of the bill claim it will. The name and the principle attached to it is pretty misleading. We've done the math, and many people have done the math, and our analysis shows that on average, a levy limit might save homeowners less than $100 per year, while counties will actually lose up to 20% of their revenue for schools, infrastructure, and public safety. And in addition to the significant revenue loss to counties, homeowners, again, experience very little property tax relief under a levy limit. We're going to walk through an example because we want to really highlight the fact that the math is pretty clear on this. In Tyrell County, the average homeowner pays around $1,200 in property taxes. The strictest levy limit after last year's revaluation would have maybe saved this homeowner about $120 this year, which is just over $10 per month. But it would have taken nearly 11% from Tyrell County's limited property tax revenue. So once more, this proposal claims to be a way to provide relief for North Carolinians who own their homes. And it would require a statewide levy limit on property taxes. Instead of doing so, it would provide nominal, if any, relief at all, and it would decimate local government revenue, which they use for schools, infrastructure, and public safety, and a number of other critical community services. We released a blog post last week that goes a little bit more into depth on this topic, but we just wanted to walk through that, especially since it is moving and likely going to be on the floor either today as we're recording or tomorrow, the 20th. There are also a lot of bills in committee this week. Really excited that the Parking Lot Reform and Modernization Act bill, House Bill 369, is moving once more in the Senate. And so it looks like once more it is moving, and we'll be excited to see, since it's already passed the House, we'll be excited to see how soon it can pass in the Senate. House Bill 1042, the Affordable Housing Exemption Modifications. This bill, just for a reminder, is a recommendation of the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reduction and Reform, and it is aimed to closing the Blue Ridge case loophole for development. And it went before House Rules earlier this afternoon and might be considered on the floor as early as tomorrow. House Bill 1089, we just talked about that. It is going to, it passed in the House Rules Committee and is going to go before Senate Finance later this afternoon. And then House Bill 1072, the Affordable Housing Infrastructure Development Act, which proposes the creation of an affordable housing infrastructure development loan program to provide below market interest rate loans for the purpose of developing and improving sites to be used for affordable housing. And it proposes a $50 million allocation for the program. This bill in particular is going to go before the Housing and Community Development Committee tomorrow at 3 p.m. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of things happening. A lot of committees have been meeting since Monday and going into the evening. So there will likely be some updates that go out with the weekly email. And as always, we're going to keep you posted on that. We also have an updated link for our bill tracker for short session. Just make sure you check out the call notes. We'll have the link to that there, and you'll be able to see what we're following. On the disaster recovery side, the city of Asheville announces their public comment period for their CDBG-DR action plan amendment. Under this proposed amendment, referred to as Substantial Amendment Number 2, the city of Asheville would move $9.2 million previously designated for the Affordable Multifamily Housing Construction Program to the state's Renew NC Single Family Housing Program. An additional $10 million would also be redirected from the city's CDBG-DR infrastructure allocation to bring the total allocation for Renew NC's single-family housing program to $22.2 million, which is enough to fix an estimated 55 to 65 homes. The 30-day public comment period will run from May 15th through June 14th, and then there will be a public hearing on the proposed amendment during the Asheville City Council meeting on Tuesday, June 9th. Information about that meeting will be available on the City of Asheville website, but also community members who are unable to attend the public hearing are also encouraged to submit written comments and questions by Sunday, June 14th via email to cdbg-dr at asheville.nc.gov. We have several local headlines as well as reports, events, and resources we want to lift up. There is a great piece from Newsline highlighting how Durham's Villages of Hayti redevelopment are setting out to honor the past with affordable housing, as well as the latest news out of Wake County. Habitat Humanity of Wake County expands into Franklin County and changes their name to Habitat for Humanity of Greater Raleigh. And then moving on to reports, events, and resources this week, our executive director, Samuel Gunter, will be at the North Carolina Community Development Association and Professional Housing Rehabilitation Association of NC annual spring conference. So they will be there discussing state and national community development policy updates. There's also going to be a webinar this Thursday on May 21st from 10:30 to 11:30, hosted by the Bipartisan Policy Center, looking at homelessness, housing, markets, and federal policy. And then the following week, so next Tuesday, the UNC School of Government's Carolina Across 100 will be hosting a webinar on workforce development in the construction trades. This program was also given a shout out this morning at the governor's event announcing the new executive order around housing. Last but not least, if you are in the Hendersonville area, there will be a in-person Hendersonville Housing Summit at Hendersonville High School. And this event will feature an unveiling of the city's community-driven strategic housing plan, an overview of different new housing initiatives, and an opportunity to provide output. The summit is free and open to nonprofit service providers, business representatives, government leaders, developers, lenders, essentially the entire housing ecosystem, and community members, anyone committed to expanding and improving housing in Henderson County and across Western North Carolina. And I know I mentioned last but not least, but this is truly last but not least, just a heads up that if you are planning on attending the very popular KHEC Partners Conference, which will be June 9th through the 10th at the Raleigh Convention Center, registration closes this week. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your week. We'll continue to update you. A lot of things moving, a lot of things going to the floor, going through committees. And we'll make sure to keep you posted on the progress and things that really are holding our attention. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you next time.